All right, welcome to Wrestling Uncensored. Tonight on the show, we pay tribute to the late, great Brodie Lee. We'll recap what happened tonight on SmackDown, what happened on Monday night on Raw, and get you ready for Legends Night of Monday Night Raw and the Royal Rumble. It's Friday night. You know what that means. Wrestling Uncensored starts right now. And hey, Johnny.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year. Happy New Year, everybody. Happy New Year. Hope 2021 is way better for all of us than 2020 was. Unless 2020 was great for you. You know, in which case I hope that things continue to go great. But I think for a lot of us, 2020 was a rough year. It definitely ends off difficult, to say the least, with the passing of Brodie Lee, just for the professional wrestling business. Looking at so many stories that we've seen over the past year, a lot of them were really sad. You know, we lost Pat Patterson not too long ago, a great in the world of professional wrestling. The tragic passing of Shad Gaspard earlier this year. You know, the way that he passed away going to save his son who was drowning in the water, and then Shad unfortunately passing away. A lot of good dads passing away. Brodie Lee, hearing all the stories about how good of a dad he was, seeing his son prominently featured on that AEW show, which we'll talk about here. The Brodie Lee tribute show done by AEW, which I thought was great. I mean, I'm not the only one. Everybody pretty much giving it 2 thumbs up. One of the best tribute shows you'll ever see. Just a lot of sadness this year. A lot of sadness this year in professional wrestling. We did have some good things, but a lot of them, you know, like Edge came back, but then he got hurt and was gone for most of the year. Never thought Edge would come back, but then all of a sudden, you know, he's gone. Undertaker finally retired. You know, that was a big story this year. But, you know, we lose Undertaker now as a active member of the roster, whether you think that's a good thing or not, whatever, but the Brodie Lee thing, I think we should start the show with that and talk a little bit about Brodie Lee, Luke Harper. Rough way to end the year. And just seeing all the tributes to him, hearing people talk about him. You know, I don't know the guy personally. Hearing people talk about Brodie Lee and what kind of a father he was. I heard Chris Jericho talk about him. You know, Jericho and Brodie lived in the same city. I think they both live in Tampa, and Jericho had a private jet that was flying back like the next morning to take them all back, but Brodie refused, decided to drive back right after the show so he could meet his family for breakfast. It's a difference of like 4 hours that he got, that he could have waited, he could have slept the night and then flown home the next morning on a jet with Jericho, but instead he chose to kind of drive home through the night so he could see his family in the morning and have breakfast. And that's the type of guy he was, you know, willing to make a lot of sacrifices himself for his family, for his kids, which is, you know, that's the kind of dad I like to be. And I think that definitely hit home with me, hearing all the stuff about Brodie and his son. His son, of course, a huge wrestling fan, My son, a big wrestling fan. It's just sad to see a guy 41 years old, a guy not that much older than me, get sick. You know, this is not a guy who died a wrestler death. You know, this is not a guy who, you know, too many of the brother gimmicks or too much of the demons or whatever. This wasn't demons. This guy got sick and he died. It was a lung issue. I'm not really sure what exactly it was. Some people are speculating, which I think is, you know, not the time. I saw one of those internet wrestling guys was like speculating. Mitchell, he wrote a story and he was like, oh, maybe it was something. What happened exactly? We need to have more details. And I'm like, what are you pressing for details right now? Get the details the family wants to give. This is a sad time. It's just sad. It's just sad to see a guy so much promise, so young, and just starting to scratch the surface of what he could really be in professional wrestling. You know, the wrestling character. But I feel like that all takes a back seat because he's got young kids. He's got 2 young kids, and they're going to grow up without a dad now, and that's just sad. It's sad. And it was rough to watch that AEW show. It was hard to watch. It was a nice show. We can run down the card and everything that happened, John, but I don't know about you, but for me, it was tough to watch, man. I felt really bad for everybody involved and feel bad for Brodie passing away so young in his life, so young in his career. A guy who, as Luke Harper, you know, was able to do some things and have some great matches and make a name for himself and make a lot of money for sure. But the Brodie Lee character that you're just starting to see with the Dark Order was really another level. It was a main event level. It was a top talent. And we didn't get to see the full picture. You know, there was so much more. Just as a fan of the guy, there was so much more to do with the Dark Order. But it just doesn't seem like the time to even talk about that. You know, it's just the sadness for his family, for his kids, for his wife. It's just horrible. So, what did you think of the AEW show, the Dynamite Brodie Lee tribute?
Well, for me, it reminded me a lot of watching those like Eddie Guerrero, Owen Hart tribute shows. You know, this is something that like took the wrestling world by shock. Like, no one really saw this coming. Apparently, AEW, like I guess they knew, but like they kept it like close to the vest kind of thing. They didn't let everyone else know about it. So like when we all heard about it, you know, you didn't know this was coming whatsoever. You didn't know he was sick. You thought he was injured or something.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, oh, he's passed away.
Mm-hmm.
This is unbelievable. Like, you can't believe this is happening. So then to have a tribute show for him, you could just see like the love for him and how he really impacted everyone there, even though like he'd only been there, 6 months?
Mm-hmm.
But still, like, he left such a lasting impression with them. And to me, what really showed was, despite, you know, that he wasn't in WWE anymore, he made so many connections in WWE over the decade that he was there that, you know, you don't see WWE superstars respond to AEW, but they definitely did that this week.
Yeah. That was unprecedented as well. Just the amount of WWE wrestlers openly tweeting about watching AEW Dynamite. And that's because the entire wrestling world was kind of united over the love for Brodie Lee and the sadness and the shock. Like you mentioned, he's been gone since that match with Cody. We're wondering where he was. We thought maybe he was injured. Maybe he had COVID. We didn't know. And then all of a sudden, you hear no news, and all of a sudden, he died. It was really shocking to hear. Really shocking. It's rough. It's rough, man. It's almost, I know we're supposed to talk and everything, but like I'm at a loss for words almost. Like it was a real shock. I think we're all still processing it a little bit. And just seeing it all was it was tough, man. I watched it with my son. Hugged him extra tight watching that show, you know? You never know, man.
Yeah, that must have been difficult. I don't know if he fully processed that because
Yeah, he's three and a
I don't
half. He
know.
doesn't fully get it, but I think he's starting to get it. Um, but yeah, I get it. I definitely get it. And it's sad. It's sad to see Brodie Jr. there in the ring at the end. But I thought, he's a wrestling fan, and they did right by the kid. They gave him a contract. They said when he's ready to wrestle, he can come and wrestle. They gave him the TNT championship. They said he's the champion for life. The belt is retired with him. They're gonna make a new belt, a new design for the belt. Like, that's his belt now. And he's got a contract, and when he does want to show up and wrestle in 10 years, kid's 8, 9 years old, in 10 years, 11 years, he wants to start wrestling, he's going to have a contract with AEW, and that's something they didn't have to do, but I believe that they will honor, because it seems like that's the kind of company they are. And that's something I did really appreciate about the show, is that AEW, Tony Khan, Cody Rhodes, the whole team, the Young Bucks, Kenny, the whole company showed who they were. And I think a lot of people in the wrestling business appreciated that. I think they gained a lot of political capital in the wrestling business by putting that show on. And the way that they did it and just how classy it was. I think a lot of people in professional wrestling that don't necessarily work for AEW are going to look at that show and say, well, AEW, they seem to actually care about their talent. Not say that they care, not act like they care, but then not really. They seem to actually legitimately care. How many active roster members have died from the WWE over the years? And how many times have you seen Vince in the ring hugging their kids? I saw Tony Khan hugging Brodie Jr. on that Dynamite show, and Tony Khan was crying. And he seemed to show some real emotion. I've never seen Vince do that. I've never seen Vince do that. And maybe he did backstage, and I'm sure he did, and I know Vince cares and everything, but AEW showed that they care quite a bit. That show was really good. It was really well done. It was classy. And WWE, they've done tribute shows before, but it kind of feels like when they do it, they're doing it to kind of advance their corporate agenda. But AEW they seem to do it to legitimately and honestly pay tribute to the man Brodie Lee. Like, I just got the feeling that it felt real. It felt like a real emotional moment. When the WWE does these shows, it feels a little bit put on,
I don't know if I agree with the Pat Patterson. Like, to me, that felt genuine. Like, I
Yeah,
don't know if you saw all the tributes they did for that. Like,
yeah.
I think it depends on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
This is such a rare occurrence for something like this to happen. And we saw it too with Eddie Guerrero. There was a lot of emotion with that. I mean, it's really
For
sad
sure.
when something like this happens, but this is so rare for this to happen, sadly.
Yeah. The way they treated the family and the kids, I've never seen Vince treat any of the family and the kids in the same way. He did give Vicky a job, though. And he did give Eddie's daughter a job eventually. Right? I don't want to turn this into, WWE is not, it just feels like AEW, it felt very authentic, The presentation was really good. All the Dark Order guys were going over, and it didn't matter. Like, you knew what was going to happen, but it was fine. You were enjoying the ride, and it was an emotional ride, and a lot of the wrestlers were crying. Colt Cabana was in tears, teaming with the Young Bucks to beat the Private Hardy Party. Colt getting the pinfall on Mark Quinn after the Bucks hit a double-team move. Nice finish. Emotional match to start the show. The 10-bell salute to Brodie Lee was really sad to start the show. I don't know if you noticed, but I saw Miro, Rusev, who I'm sure has known the guy for years, right? I mean, they've been up and down the roads together for years. He was like sobbing, And when you see a big, tough
Right.
guy like that, just like shaking with, crying, it's hard to watch, man. It's hard to see because like, this is a tough guy. This is a real, and he's going through it. I think about Chris Jericho and all the guys, all the brothers that he's had to see pass over the years. All the death that Jericho has had to deal with in his 50 years. Like, Jericho has had more friends die than most 50-year-old men. Like, it's crazy. What Jericho... no wonder he drinks. You know what I mean? God damn. Wrestling is a tough business. And this was not a wrestling-related thing, But it's tough, man. A lot of death.
Very sad. Very, very heartbreaking watching a lot of that. Like, to me, Jon Moxley, that really, like, set, like, the pace for that show. Like, watching that, it was like, wow. Like, it could have been over right there, and it's like, this is amazing just for that. Because, like, what he said right there, that was probably the best, like, tribute speech I think I've ever seen for someone to do something for this. It was incredible.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think they hit it out of the park. Every aspect of the show was just perfect, and watching it was the right tone the whole way through. Lance Archer coming out wearing the Luke Harper gear, I thought that was a nice tribute. Teaming with Evil Uno and Stu Grayson to beat Eddie Kingston, Butcher, and the Blade. Uno doing... That was
the best match.
Yeah, that was a good match. Did you notice Uno did a thing that Brodie Lee did? He did a kick on a guy. This guy, Tim Donst, he kicked him in the head on an indie show. And Uno did the same blind kick to start the match on Eddie Kingston. A lot of little tributes.
I noticed the kick, and yeah. Well, I think Archer, too, I think he also did like some sort of mannerism that Brodie Lee used to do as well. There was a lot of little things you saw like throughout the show, which was just a nice touch. Like, I don't know if you saw the post-show afterwards that Archer, he did a promo afterwards. Like, that was really good. Cause I don't know if he got a speech, but what he said afterwards was very touching.
I have not seen that. I'm seeing the chat very active. I want to give a shout-out to everybody watching live right now. Watching live on Facebook, on Twitch, on YouTube. I see my brother, AJ DeLesio, my main man. Woods MMA UK out there, Alex Tarras, Lauren Cronish, Bob Cote. I saw my man, Patrick C. Hamilton, member of the team, my man Patrick, Angelo. So shout out to everybody watching on the chat. I see you guys. AEW show, man, was really good. John Silver, Alex Reynolds, Hangman Page. Silver wearing the gear that Brodie had made for him. That was for a bit on Being the Elite. He was wearing a mini version of Brodie Lee's gear. Brodie had that made for him and bought him a ring jacket. This is not a guy that he's known for that long. He knew him for like 6 months. He spent like over $1,000 on this guy on gear because he saw something in him and he wanted him to elevate and make him look like a star. That's the kind of guy Brodie Lee was. And these are the things you wouldn't know about him, but you're hearing all these stories now that he's passed away, and it's just like, man, what a great guy. That's something that wrestlers don't often do for each other. Buy another wrestler gear just because, He did that for Johnny Hungy. Like, that's a nice thing, man. That's huge. And I noticed when Johnny Hungy got that jacket, man, he started to look cooler, look more badass. Brodie bought him that jacket. Silver was crying. It was sad, man. I think the moment of the night was in that match, though. I know you said the match of the night was the Archer Uno Grayson versus Kingston Butcher Blade. It was kick-ass. But the moment of the night has got to be when Wardlow shows up. So it's Silver, Reynolds, and Hangman versus MJF, Santana, and Ortiz. Wardlow shows up to interfere, but Eric Rowan shows up out of nowhere, makes the save, And Brodie's son also hit MJF with a kendo stick during that match. That was pretty good. But Rowan showing up, that was crazy. It was like, whoa, what's Rowan doing here? And you notice they didn't know what to call him. They were like, it's Eric Rowan. Oh, it's Rowan. Oh, it's Big Red. Oh, it's his tag team partner in the Bludgeon Brothers. Like, all those things were said on commentary. They weren't sure what to call him. But I like Rowan there, and I feel like Rowan could help pick up the pieces for the Dark Order maybe as a new leader. I don't know. But I thought Rowan showing up was great. I don't know if he's going to be there full time, but I thought that was a nice moment, allowing a guy who I'm sure spent a hell of a lot of time with Brodie Lee, Eric Rowan, as his tag team partner for all those years in the WWE. It was nice for Rowan to be able to be there and pay tribute to his brother. So that was a nice touch. You know, all the nice touches that you'd want in one of these shows, they were there. Rowan's not an AEW guy. You didn't expect him to show up. He makes the save during a match. He's crying, holds up a sign, you know. That was emotional, man. That was hard to watch, too. But also, like, what a great tribute. What a great tribute.
Well, there's another moment in that match that really stood out and, like, took me by surprise. And I enjoyed it. I don't know if everyone enjoyed it, but when MJF went up to Brodie Lee's kid and said, like, shut up, you stupid little brat, like, I'm like, wow. Like, I didn't expect that whatsoever, but, like, I'm glad, like, he's trying to play up, you know, like, this is still, like, you know, a storyline somewhat. There's still some, it was a bit of a twist. Look, I appreciate MJF trying to take in character.
Yeah, but his son's under contract. He knows what's up. I mean, he's 8 or 9 years old. I'm not sure exactly, but like he has an idea, and he hit MJF with a kendo stick afterwards. Like he knew, like, okay, we're doing a little angle. So I was happy with that. I don't think anybody got mad. You know, he's included in the show. It's fun. It's MJF. It's what he does. You know, MJF is the ultimate heel. He gives the middle finger to children. You know, he's a jerk. It's what he does. I thought that was great. I thought that was a fun little thing. Anna Jay and Tay Conti beating Penelope Ford and Britt Baker. That was all right. Jay got Ford to tap to her Queen Slayer sleeper hold. And then I don't understand why Thunder Rosa showed up and attacked Britt Baker after the match. Like, what was that? That had nothing to do with anything.
Well, because I think 2 weeks prior, Britt attacked Thunder Rosa and, like, tried to wipe off all her makeup. Meh. See, like, this was still, like, a storyline show. Like, besides the fact that it was a tribute show, they were still, like, pushing storylines.
Were they?
That match is part of the Holiday Bash thing that they're doing. I think it's on maybe night 2, but that match is already confirmed.
What match?
Thunder Rosa versus Britt Baker.
Yeah, but that was the only, like, actual AEW storyline that they did there, and it fell out of place. That was the only part of the show where I was like, huh? Everything else was, like, everything was just kind of like spot show, tribute show for Brodie Lee. You know, it wasn't really continuing the stories of Dynamite. Like Colt Cabana teaming with the Young Bucks, that doesn't make sense. Lance Archer with Uno and Grayson, like, since when does Lance Archer team with Dark Order? You know, I guess Silver Reynolds and Hangman against MJF, Santana, Ortiz kind of makes sense. But, like, you know, a lot of these matches were just kind of put together as a tribute, as kind of like Dark Order with some baby faces, and you have a bunch of fun matches in tribute to Brodie. The only point where they actually had, like, storyline continuation was, I guess, with Sting and Team Taz, and then the Thunder Rosa Britt Baker thing. But the rest of the show was like, I don't know. And Sting and Darby is like, well, that's kind of cool. I don't know. Thunder Rosa showing up and attacking Britt Baker there, I was like, yeah, could have saved that for next week. I don't really need that.
Well, the thing is, I don't know if you saw the lineup for next week, but it's, like, jam-packed, so I bet they just don't have time, because, like, it feels like next 2 weeks you got, like, 2 solid episodes of Dynamite.
Yeah, right, because they were supposed to do their New Year's show Night 1 this week, right? Kenny and Ray Phoenix was supposed to be this week, but now it's going to be next week for the title on Wednesday night, which should be pretty good. 10, Cody and Orange. Like, what kind of team is that, 10 from the Dark Order. No, I like it. I get it. Yeah.
But it's like -1, like his son is pretty much who booked the show. Like that was the whole idea of that. So it's not that these guys wanted to team together. It's because they were kind of forced to team together. So.
Well, it was good. I thought it was nice. So 10, Cody and Orange beat Ricky Starks, Willie Hobbs, and Brian Cage. And then Team Taz attacks after the match. Hook, Taz's son, suplexed Orange Cassidy, which was like, oh, Hook's getting involved now. And then Darby Allin and Sting show up together to make the save. Team Taz doesn't even... Sting has not been physical with anybody. Team Taz just bailed. Fake snow started falling on them. They could not be more afraid of the fake snow. Just running in fear of Sting. Those guys are all super scared of Sting. It's kind of funny. So that was Sting's part of the show. He's with Darby now?
Got a great pop.
Yeah. People
amazing pop by the crowd. Yeah.
Well, I think half the pop is the entrance. Like, the entrance is so cool. He's got fake snow. He's got lights off, like, cool video. The entrance is cooler than, like, and he looks cool when he comes out. Like, that's another thing. He's a big guy. He's got the face paint. It's an iconic look, Sting, with the baseball bat. It's like, damn, Sting. Problem is, when the bell rings, that's why the bell hasn't rung. That's why he's been on TV for 4 or 5 weeks now. They haven't booked him in a match, haven't talked about him in a match. He just kind of shows up and scares people by not touching them. Because, once the match starts and the sweat starts flying and the face paint starts dripping off and he's wearing a T-shirt with the singlet underneath, it's kind of like, oh... well, this isn't so fun anymore. But the entrance is, amazing, It's kind of like Undertaker now. It's like the entrance is really cool. When the bell rings, it's like, it's hit or miss. It might work. If all the stars align, it might turn out. If all the stars align, it might turn out. That shouldn't be where you're going for a match, It shouldn't be like, if everything goes right, we might pull out a decent match. Also, because you shouldn't be wrestling when you're 61, Sting. But, hey, he's not wrestling, right? He's not wrestling. He just shows up and scares people with snow, which I think is cool. The entrance is amazing.
Well, you have to wait until February, I think, until he wrestles.
All right. Well, we'll see when he will wrestle. Shout out to Patrick C. Hamilton. He says, good job in 2020, gents. Looking for more of the same in 2021. Patrick is a member of the team. Just $4.99 Canadian a month, which is barely anything. $5 Canadian a month, you can do like Patrick and drop those Johnny North and Dave Simon emojis in the chat. Become a member of the team. Become a member of the YouTube channel. And I will read your comments way more frequently than if you're not a member. I'll tell you that much. If I see your comments in the chat, I am more likely to read them if you are a member of the team or if you drop a super chat. That's just how it works. Patrick is a member of the team, and we appreciate it because he keeps the show going. Somebody's got to pay for my WWE Network subscription. It's not free, okay? Jason Pete, Kyle Salisbury, Antoinette, Patrick C. Hamilton. They've all become members of the team, and I appreciate all of them. You should become a member as well. Johnny's already a member because he's on the show. So I'm not going to make you become a member, John, but I'm just saying I'm a member. I signed up because I support the show that much. I'm a member. I'm a member of my own team. Okay?
That's good.
There you go. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about. So yeah, that was the AEW tribute show. I thought it was great. It was fantastic. One of the best tribute shows. 2020, I think, was the year of AEW, and I think 2021 will be the year of AEW more. I actually don't know. I'm going to scratch that. 2021 is going to be the year of Kenny Omega. We are just starting to scratch the surface on what this man is capable of and what this man has planned. And I believe we are in for something big come Monday, Tuesday. Is it Monday or is it Tuesday? I know it's two nights.
I would think Tuesday.
Huh? It's
like,
2 nights.
What are you talking about? Somewhat Impact,
Brother,
aren't you?
Brother, I'm not talking about Impact. I'm talking about Change the World. I'm talking about Kenny Omega. When he says change the world, you think he's talking about AEW and Impact? You think when Kenny Omega...
this week.
Oh, yeah. You think when Kenny Omega does something big, when he teases his next big move, you think he's really talking about doing something on Impact? Kenny Omega is way bigger than Impact, brother. Kenny Omega is stadiums, bright lights, Tokyo. Do you know what is happening next week, Johnny North? Are you in any way aware of what is upon us? The greatest wrestling event of the year. Every New Year's, you can look forward to the 4th and now the 5th of January. Every 4th of January, but now it's 5th because it's the 2-night event. It is Wrestle Kingdom. New Japan Pro Wrestling's WrestleMania. It's WrestleMania if the wrestling was really, really good. Like, it's WrestleMania if the main event kicked ass, was like a 5-star classic, you know? Wrestle Kingdom. I expect Kenny to show up. I think Kenny either shows up at Wrestle Kingdom or New Year's Dash. New Year's Dash could be, where he shows up. That's on the 8th. Is it the 8th? I'll give you the exact date of the Dash. Might be the 5th even. New Year's Dash. I don't know exactly what date New Year's Dash is. But he might be at the Dash. The Dash is kind of like the show after the big 2 dome shows. But Wrestle Kingdom is like the biggest show of the year for New Japan Pro Wrestling. So I could see Kenny showing up there and doing something. If they're gonna do something with New Japan, this is where you do it. And there's a big match in the main event. I don't know if you're aware what the main event of night 1 is, John, but it's going to be a kick-ass match that'll probably be match of the year 2021. They always kick ass when they wrestle each other. It will be the New Japan IWGP Heavyweight Champion and Intercontinental Champion, the man Tetsuya Naito from Los Ingobernables de Japón. Fucking Naito, baby. Naito is the man. So Naito against Kota Ibushi, who's pretty tight with Kenny Omega. So Kenny's best buddy is wrestling for the big belt, both belts, on night 1 of Wrestle Kingdom. I could see Kenny getting involved in some kind of way. Don't be surprised if you see Kenny Omega show up in New Japan next week. That's all I'm saying.
I thought I saw something about Jay White saying he's going to be the champ, though. At the end of it.
Jay White, he faces the winner of Naito and Ibushi on night 2 in the main event. So White's got winner.
That could very well happen.
Yeah, it could happen. So the card here is going to be Hiromu. I'll just run down the card for you, John, just to give you a little taste of what we have next week. Hiromu Takahashi, the ticking time bomb, taking on El Phantasmo. Oh, Jesus. It's going to be ridiculous. Like, just that match alone is going to be so goddamn good. Winner of that takes on the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion on night 2. Continuing on night 1, the Dangerous Techers, Tai Chi and Zack Sabre Jr., the tag team champions, defending against the Gorillas of Destiny, Tama Tonga and Tonga Loa. Jeez. Kenta, formerly Hideo Itami in NXT, Kenta, of course, he takes on Satoshi Kojima for an IWGP US title challenge rights certificate match. Great-O-Khan will take on, who's like a new guy, a young guy, 29 years old, takes on the legend, the ace, Hiroshi Tanahashi. Kazuchika Okada goes one-on-one with the new mean Will Ospreay, who's got his own faction now in New Japan. And Tetsuya Naito goes one-on-one with Kota Ibushi. That's night 1. Night 2, you have a fatal 4-way match for the provisional King of Pro Wrestling 2021 trophy. They haven't announced the participants in that match. You're going to have an IWGP Junior Heavyweight Tag Team match. It'll be Suzuki-gun, Desperado, and Kanemaru defending against Ryusuke Taguchi and Master Wato. Then you have Shingo Takagi defending his never openweight title against Jeff Cobb. Shit, that's going to be killer. Evil goes one-on-one with his former tag team partner Sanada. Taiji Ishimori, the IWGP Junior Heavyweight Champion, will wrestle either Hiromu or Phantasmo. I think it'll be Hiromu. And Naito or Ibushi takes on Jay White for the double title in the main event. Like, god damn. Johnny North, I know you don't watch New Japan religiously like I do. But you're at least aware of some of these names, right? Just the match listing there. You recognize this is going to be some good pro wrestling next week.
Well, I think the Gorillas of Destiny are probably going to win the tag team titles, but there's not too many matches I'm dying to see. I'm a little disappointed John Moxley's not on that show. Like that whole U.S. title invitational thing, it's kind of disappointing.
Mm-hmm. Well, as Bob Cote points out, a person living in the U.S. can't travel to Japan and come back to the States and wrestle days later without some sort of quarantine, which is true. And Kenny, I guess he couldn't wrestle unless, did they tape the Phoenix match? Or is that live? They must have taped it.
They're going to tape it this Wednesday.
What do you mean this Wednesday? So it's live?
Like
No, the Phoenix match is airing on Wednesday.
They're going to tape like 2 weeks like on Wednesday.
So Kenny maybe can't even go to Japan for the thing next week because he's got to wrestle Ray Phoenix in AEW. I think Bob's right. Bob on the chat.
I think that's why you air a video package. You don't have them actually appear.
But then TK saying America has different rules. Maybe they are different rules. Maybe all Kenny needs is like a negative COVID test and he's good to go. I don't know how it works. But I would figure if you're in Japan, I don't know what the rules are in Japan. It's tough now, right, with traveling rules and stuff. I didn't even consider that, which is weird. Sometimes I forget that we're in a pandemic. I'm like, oh, yeah. I mean, it's rare. It doesn't last for very long. Somebody snaps me back down to earth like Bob Cote in the chat. Wait a second. It's travel rules because of pandemic. I'm like, oh, yeah, pandemic. Thanks, Bob. I was trying to talk about some pro wrestling stuff. You bring me back to reality. It's fucking hate reality.
Well, the reality is Kenny will be on Impact this week, so you get to see him there.
I wanted to see him at Wrestle Kingdom. Maybe he'll do like a video thing. They could just do a video thing where he's like talking shit. Maybe about Ibushi at New Year's Dash. Like Ibushi wins the belts and then Kenny shows up on video at New Year's Dash like, I'm going to get you, Ibushi. That would be crazy. Goddamn. Goddamn, pal. Whew. Wrestle Kingdom, New Japan. What else is going on, John? You want to talk about WWE? You want to talk about SmackDown tonight? What's Sonya Deville doing there?
Just to show up to say that she's there, that's it. Walk, and then nothing else.
I don't get it. It was weird. It was like, oh, Sonya Deville's back. Oh, okay. I don't know. I don't really care. It was weird. It was a weird appearance. Could you understand what Roman Reigns was talking about at the beginning of the show? Sorry, you want to talk about Sonya Deville some more?
I'm just saying, it's nice that she's back because it kind of sucked. Like, I thought she was like getting going with her gimmick.
Yeah.
And then it just kind of ended, unfortunately. So it's nice to see that she came back, though. Like, thankfully, that's not going to stop her, that whole like stalking incident.
Yeah. Well, I'm just not a big fan. Roman's promo at the beginning of the show, I couldn't hear a word he was saying. Could they lower the fake crowd noise a little bit when the man's talking? Like, the noise that they're pumping in is fake. They could lower the volume and get it right. Like, I don't know why they still haven't got this right. Half of these promos that are on TV when they're in the ring, you can't understand half the things that they're saying because the crowd noise is way too loud. Who's running the audio over there? It's ridiculous.
Well, I think the problem, too, is Roman speaks very low now, so it's kind of hard if he doesn't speak high, so that's it. Yeah, they have to obviously fix that, but they didn't get the memo yet on that one.
Could you hear what he was saying?
Not like, bits and pieces, but not completely.
So it wasn't just me, right? I couldn't hear shit. I was like, what are you saying, Roman? Could you speak up? Could they lower the volume on the fake crowd? Like, it's a fake crowd. Fuck. That was dumb. So I couldn't hear what he was saying because they pumped in a bunch of boos. You know? And then Kevin Owens shows up and there's not so many boos, so I can understand Kevin. And Kevin also kind of, he's projecting his voice. He's yelling a little bit more. Roman's just very like, oh, I'm the big dog. And I'm like, what are you saying, Roman? And then Kevin shows up and he wants revenge. And then he got his match. He got his revenge against Jey Uso. He beat the hell out of Jey Uso in the main event. Pinned him with a stunner. Then handcuffed him to the ropes. Because last week they had a cage match, right? We didn't do a show last week because it was Christmas. But last week WWE did a show. And they had a cage match. And Kevin Owens lost because Jey Uso handcuffed him to the cage. And then Roman was able to beat him. So Roman retained the title again because of Jey Uso. So Kevin's like, forget this, I'm going to eliminate Jey Uso, and then I'm going to go after Roman, maybe. So he handcuffs Uso to the ropes for revenge after the match, puts a beating on him, and then starts dragging him around looking for Roman. Roman eventually shows up to help his cousin, which is like, finally. Attacks Kevin Owens. Jey Uso shows up. He's still handcuffed, but he's like helping Roman beat up Kevin. And then they throw him off a bleacher through a couple tables. Kevin crashes through some more shit. Poor Kevin, man. He's just taking a beating these days. He's just like, how do you finish the show? I just throw Kevin off some shit, through some shit, and, it's a good way to end a show, right? Oh, yeah. Just have Kevin take more of a beating. That's all right, right? There's no limit to what this man can take, I guess. I don't know, man. Kevin Owens took a hell of a beating. Like, goddamn. He's been getting the shit kicked out of him in this Roman Reigns feud. The TLC match, the cage match, and now this tonight, it's like, god damn, man. It's what he does. It's what he does.
And more than likely, this is going to lead to another pay-per-view match, so it's not going to end too well for him. I mean, just think, like, he goes through all this, like, what's he going to go through in the end? Well, what's going to be the final little gimmick match they're going to give us? I mean, where do you go after TLC in a cage?
I'd say, Last Man Standing.
Okay. Seems kind of tame compared to what we just saw, but okay.
Well, like, the whole thing is you can't put Kevin down no matter what you do to him. He just keeps getting back up, so Last Man Standing. I don't know what else you do because you've done so many gimmick matches, and it does seem like we're heading towards another match, Roman-Kevin at the Rumble. The Rumble is like, what, 3 weeks away? 4 weeks? 4 weeks of TV away. 4 weeks. 4 weeks of Raw and SmackDown before we hit the Rumble. I think it's going to be Kevin and Roman. I think it'll be last man standing or falls count anywhere because they were around the arena tonight, you know? I could see a falls count anywhere. Last man standing is often kind of an around the arena match, so I could see that too. You know, Kevin, he wants to put Roman down, put him down for the count, and Kevin just won't stay down, right? So I think they'll do a last man standing match at the Rumble.
All right, so someone suggests Hell in a Cell, but I mean, we just recently had that pay-per-view, so I don't know if we'll do that again. But
they don't do those matches other than at the Hell in a Cell pay-per-view, right? I mean, when's the last time you had a Hell in a Cell match at a non-Hell in a Cell pay-per-view? WrestleMania with Brock and Hunter? No. Was it Brock and Hunter? No, Brock. No, Hunter Taker? Mania?
I think it was Shane and Taker, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, wasn't it Shane Kevin?
That was at Hell in a Cell.
That was at Hell in a Cell.
Yeah.
Shane Taker, Hell in a Cell, Mania. That was the last non-Hell in a Cell. That was the last non-Hell in a Cell, Hell in a Cell match.
Correct. You got it right, yeah.
So, sounds weird, but we understand what we're talking about. So Kevin's went through some shit. He's going to lose to Roman again at the Rumble. I feel like they might be building Daniel Bryan to win the Men's Rumble this year, which is getting me too excited. So I'm like, I have felt that Daniel Bryan was going to win the Rumble, and I've been excited about a potential Daniel Bryan Rumble win many times, and they always screw me over in the end. So I'm assuming that he won't win the Rumble, and this is just a tease. But they are teasing the hell out of it. He was the first guy to announce that he was going to be in the Rumble. Now he's with Gable and Otis, and they're doing all this Royal Rumble specific training that they did a little promo for on SmackDown. Bryan and Otis got the win over Nakamura and Cesaro in a tag team match that was quite good. I really enjoyed Daniel Bryan doing most of the work in that match. I also liked Otis running outside the ring. Did you notice Otis running? Seeing Otis, I could watch Otis run. Like, just have Otis do a 100-meter every SmackDown. I would watch that. Fantastic. Watching that man run is a thing of beauty. You didn't see that? I thought it was really funny. I rewound. I watched it a couple times. I won't lie.
What I've noticed more is that, like, I found at first when they put Gable with Otis, Gable was still somewhat of a heel, but now it feels like he's more of a face now.
They don't know what they're doing. They put them together. They're like, yeah, you guys go together. We'll figure it out. WWE, baby. They don't know what they're doing. They're with Daniel Bryan, so they're baby faces now. And Otis has always been a baby face, so it's just like, whatever. Gable was in their corner. They all celebrated together. It's a good match. Can't complain about the match, right? Probably match of the night on SmackDown tonight.
Yeah, I think so.
What was better? Big E and Apollo against Sammy and Corbin wasn't bad. It was pretty good, too.
Well, I think the other tag match was better, but it was okay.
It wasn't a bad episode of SmackDown. There was some good parts, but there was also some kind of weaker parts. I definitely enjoyed Big E. Everything Big E does, he's great. New Intercontinental Champion, Big E, beating Sami Zayn. Loving Sami Zayn. I think those two guys are money. The new Big E entrance and the gear. That's championship level Big E. That's main event of WrestleMania, Big E. That's a guy I want to see at the top of the card. Any other wrestling company, Big E is the number one guy. Or getting there, close to it. WWE, it's like, yeah, well, you know, it's tough because it really doesn't matter what you do. You'll never beat Roman Reigns. Or Bill Goldberg for some reason. I know Big E is a big fan of Goldberg. Give him that match. Let E wrestle Goldberg. He likes to see, what does he say? Big, meaty men slapping meat? Something like that. That's what he likes to see. Take your 5-star matches and go somewhere else. He wants to see some big men with big chests and big muscles slapping meat. That's what Big E wants to see. Fantastic. Fucking love that guy. He is so funny. He looks the part. He wrestles the part. God damn, Big E. He's a treasure for the WWE, and they just they'll go somewhere, but there's a ceiling. That's the problem with WWE that I find these days, is that no matter how good you are, it's not just these days, it's for the past 20 years basically. No matter how good you are, no matter how over you get, it's John Cena's company. And now it's like, well, no matter how good you are, no matter how over you get, that's Roman Reigns' company. Yeah, but these other guys are kind of more fun, and wouldn't it be cool if it was their company instead? And I was like, yeah. But it's Roman's company, really. Roman's going to be the guy. And that's just sad, It's sad for the guys who put so much effort into their craft, so many guys that are so talented, and they're able to get to a certain point, but never to that point where they can carry the whole company on their back, They don't get that opportunity. So many of these guys, I think, deserve a chance to be the top guy, to take the company to new heights. It's not like WWE is doing great right now as far as ratings, as far as fan interest,
Mm-hmm.
They don't seem to want to give anybody else a chance, which is too bad. And it worked that way with Cena, and it's working that way with Roman. And I can't help but feel like the company might have done better to kind of go in different directions at certain times. But they stick with what they do. They have a plan, and they just stick to it. And it works to a certain extent, but it also doesn't. It also holds them back. They don't go with what's hot.
Well, if they have someone coming up that could be a big star, they'll just put them on the other show that's not Roman. They could be the number 2, like Drew McIntyre is. Big E could be that one day.
Yeah, okay. Cool.
What's wrong with that? Nothing wrong with being number 2.
I don't know. It's like, had they stuck with Lex Luger instead of saying, it's just not working, let's just go with Brett.
Yeah, they're okay with that. It's fine.
Yeah, but they could have gone with Luger. Like we were this close to being like, it's going to be Luger. No Brett, no, And I feel like now they just say, let's just go with Luger. Forget it. Let's just keep going with Luger. The Luger option. They don't go with the Brett option, It's like with Steve Austin. When Steve Austin came along, it's like they saw the Austin 316 signs, and they're like, okay, I guess we're just going to go with this. And they went with it. And it worked. They just don't want to ride the hot hand anymore. When a guy gets hot and it's like, okay, let's go. Like, strap the rocket to him. Let's see how far he can take it. They don't even want to strap the rocket to him. They're like, oh, this guy's getting over. Let's, disappear him or kind of make him really lame. Feed him to Roman really quick so he could kind of get the shine on somebody else, Like, they want to kill momentum. And that seems to me like the only way you really get over is if there's an organic momentum that comes from the audience that really seems to kind of love you, and they want to kill that dead if it's not who they want. And it hasn't really worked, like the Roman Reigns thing. So many years they tried to make this guy their top babyface and push him as this guy that you love and you watch and you root for, and it never fully worked. Now they turn him heel, and, it's working to a certain extent, but I don't know. It's just not.
It was kind of.
It's just not that fun when you see guys, giving it their all, and you realize, well, these guys are better than the guys on top, but the guys on top they're gonna stay on top no matter what. So as a fan, you kind of watch it and you're like, ugh. All right, it's kind of boring. It's a little boring. It's a little predictable.
Well, they like having these long reigning champions. It's kind of like why Luger didn't win the title. It's like they like to have their champions have a decent reign, and Yokozuna just dethroned Hulk Hogan, which is kind of a big deal. And it's like, well, now we're going to have him drop the title right away. It just, the timing didn't work out too well. And if Luger was still hot at WrestleMania 10, then they probably would have given him the title, but he wasn't as hot, sadly. So they went to Bret instead. Again, I don't think they made the wrong decision on that one. And this is
No.
the thing with everyone else. Like, can they stay hot? Like, it's tough.
Yeah. But, like, you know what I'm saying? Like, they could have just pushed through with Luger. He wasn't hot, but they could have just said, well, he is the prototypical guy that we like to push, so let's just go with it. But at that time, they made a wise decision. They went with Bret. The company went into a different direction, and they were all the better for it. You know, through Bret came Shawn, came Austin, came the Mr. McMahon character. All these great things happened to the WWF because they reached a fork in the road, and they picked Bret. Had they picked Luger, I don't know what happens to the future of the company, you know? Does Luger have a classic match with Steve Austin and make him a star? Does Luger have a classic feud with Shawn Michaels and elevate him to new heights? Does Luger get screwed and create the Mr. McMahon character? You know, like, so many things kind of played off that one decision, and they could have gone in the other direction easily. And we've seen them since go in that type of direction, you know? Let's go with the Hogan type, the Cena type, the Luger type. But they chose to go in a completely different direction, and it paid off in dividends. And now they're going in these directions, and it seems like every step they take, every turn, it's like, well, they have option A and option B, and every time they take option B, it's wrong. It's like they can't. For a while, everything Vince touched turned to gold. Now everything he touches seems to turn to shit. You know? Like, I gave the example of Chris Jericho a few weeks ago on the show, John. When you said, oh, Jericho and Kevin Owens, that worked out perfectly, that storyline, but did it, you know? And I got mad at you, and I said, John, that's ridiculous, because Kevin Owens, he was a Universal Champion, and they took it away from him and gave it to Bill Goldberg instead, because Bill and Brock had to work for the belt for some reason at WrestleMania. Bill and Brock wrestling wasn't enough. The belt had to be on the line, even though it would have been a much better story had Chris Jericho wrestled Kevin Owens for the Universal title and won the title and finally had a WrestleMania moment and turned Chris Jericho into a big babyface there. You know, like he was beloved, still beloved by the wrestling audience, by the way. Willing to give of himself and help the next generation. Not worried about his spot or looking weak, brother, or, you know, not doing jobs. You know, Goldberg didn't lose to Dolph Ziggler when he came back, even though it's like, do you need to beat Dolph Ziggler there, Goldie? Meanwhile, Jericho lost to Fandango at WrestleMania because they asked him to. Say what you want about Bill Goldberg and his star power. I think Chris Jericho is a much bigger star. Much bigger pro wrestling star, much bigger name, much more famous. Much better in every aspect of professional wrestling. In every single aspect of professional wrestling, Jericho is better. But instead, they chose Bill Goldberg back then. They gave him the belt. They said, Jericho and Kevin, you just wrestle for the U.S. title, whatever. We'll put you on second at WrestleMania. Jericho said on his podcast, I heard it, and it was crazy, John, because we had this argument about Jericho and Kevin Owens, and then 2 days later, I'm listening to Jericho's podcast, and he's talking about that exact incident, and he's saying, yeah, so the plan was I was supposed to go to Mania and work Kevin for the Universal title in one of the main events. Instead, they took the title off Kevin, they gave it to Goldberg and Brock to work. They were one of the main events, and me and Kevin went on second. And going on second, Chris Jericho, was like, oh, that's where they see me. That's my standing in this company. I'm going to leave. And he did. And he went to AEW. And now the WWE has some serious competition. So they had a choice. They made their choice. And it had repercussions for years to come. Negative repercussions for the WWE. They made an error in judgment back then, which I was here saying, what the hell are you guys doing? Clearly, this is the Jericho Owens year. They have done this great thing. Jericho is a huge babyface. Owens turning on him. Fucking put the title on Jericho. If there was ever a time to give him his WrestleMania moment, to honor a great wrestler, to actually show that you give a shit about the wrestling business and about the people that dedicate their lives to it. Bill Goldberg isn't a professional wrestler. He's a sports entertainer. Chris Jericho is a professional wrestler. There's a big difference. I don't give a shit about sports entertainers. I love professional wrestlers. There's a big fucking difference. And if you know, you know. You know what I mean. Bill Goldberg was an ex-NFL player who wrestled for big bucks in WCW, wrestled for big bucks in WWE, and wrestled nowhere else. Nowhere. Maybe those little Hulk Hogan tours where he got paid big bucks. Bill Goldberg never wrestled in front of 50 people for no money. And unless you wrestle in front of 50 people, I mean, I'm being generous, right? 10 people, 20 people, right, John? Come on, you know. You've been in there.
Mm-hmm.
Unless you're wrestling.
0 people almost a year now.
Right, 0 people. But, you know, what's a small show? What's the smallest show you've worked in front of?
I guess it would be 25 to 30, I guess.
All right, 25 to 30 people. That's not a big crowd, okay? Bill Goldberg never wrestled in front of 25 people and got paid $0 for it. And until you do that, you're not a professional wrestler, which sounds kind of backwards because you're not getting paid. What's the professional thing about it? It's just the way it works. I don't know. I don't make the rules. It's just the way it is. Unless you are really in the wrestling business to be a wrestler, I don't believe in you as a professional wrestler. And Jericho's paid his dues, and most guys that you respect in the wrestling business have paid their dues. Bill Goldberg never did that. Never did any of that. And they still cater to him, you know? And that's a problem with the WWE. They cater to a guy like Bill Goldberg. They shit on a guy like Chris Jericho, and that's why their company is in the fucking spot that it's in. They think they can throw money at a problem. You can't throw money at all of this. You got to show people you care. You got to show people that you actually care about them on a human level. And you would think that they would have learned at this point that you can't throw money at these problems, but I don't think that they have figured that out. They tried to throw all the money they had at Kenny Omega and the Young Bucks and Chris Jericho and everybody. All sorts of guys are like, come here. We'll give you whatever you want. Creative control, money. What do you want? They said, no. We know what it is. You get signed and you get fucked. No. No thank you. That's just how it is, man. I saw a referee. What's that guy's name? He just got fired. He's with the company forever. Forever. AEW brought him in. Come on, man.
Yeah,
help me out.
Name's escaping me right now. But
God
yeah,
damn.
I know you're talking about.
Not Jack Doan. Jack Doan? No.
Not Jack Doan. No, not Jack Doan. Jack Doan was a longtime referee, but it wasn't him.
Somebody on the chat is going to help me out with that. Who was the referee that they fired? Longtime referee. AEW brought him in for a match. God damn. Anyways, that guy.
They call him Kiki, if I remember correctly. That's his nickname.
Chioda. Mike Chioda. Thank you.
There you go.
Mike Chioda. There you go. I knew it would come to me. So Chioda, I think it was Chioda saying this. Angelo on the chat dropped Chioda. Thank you, Angelo. Chioda, he said, you know, WWE, sometimes they sign you. They fire you. They hire you so that they have you, and then they could just, you know, ruin you.
Right. Like, this is well known. Yeah, sure.
Like, that's not cool. People they have grudges against, people that are successful in other companies, they'll hire you just to bury you. Like, who does that?
I mean, remember Dusty and Polka Dots? Like, come on, like this has been going on for years and years.
And if there was an option, John, if you could make the same money in AEW or WWE, would you go for the company that'll hire you to bury you, or are you going to go to the company that seems to actually act honestly and authentically and seem to treat their talent with respect? It's just basic respect. WWE over the years has exhibited a lack of respect for their own people, and it's not working in their favor. I feel like they've had more respect in the past. But I don't know. Maybe Vince is just so out of touch, he's just lost all common sense. I don't know what's going on, but people don't seem to want to work there. They don't seem to really care about their people. And every decision that they make is just wrong. Like going with Goldberg over Jericho doesn't seem like the right move.
Well, I think you're looking at not the exact way of what it was. It was really, this is what Brock Lesnar wants. Brock Lesnar, who was the guy in WWE, and if Brock wants something, Brock gets it. That's the main thing. Brock wanted Goldberg. Brock got Goldberg.
Brock needed the belt. He needed to wrestle for the belt.
He put over Goldberg because he knew he'd get the win back at WrestleMania. So yeah, it meant more. And then he won in the end because he got the belt as well. It was just smart on Brock's part.
So they cater to Brock Lesnar, a guy who also isn't a pro wrestler. Sorry, he's a sports entertainer. He's a badass, but he doesn't give a shit. He doesn't give a shit. But you know what? Brock treats them the way they treat everybody else. You know, Brock does things on his time because he knows, like, they don't care about you. So he doesn't care about them. He doesn't care about the wrestling business. He doesn't care. He's in it for a paycheck. I respect his mentality, but at the same time, there are so many guys that give their lives to the wrestling business that do care so much. I feel for them. And I respect them more in their craft as professional wrestlers, you know? I like Brock Lesnar. I think he's badass. But I don't love him like I love Chris Jericho because I know Jericho cares about pro wrestling. You know? Like, Brock Lesnar's not doing a podcast. Brock doesn't give a shit. Brock's not going to ask other wrestlers about things. He doesn't care. He's not interested. Stone Cold Steve Austin, as big as you can get in pro wrestling, gives a shit about pro wrestling. Will ask other wrestlers. He cares. The Rock. I saw The Rock gave a truck to fucking Harvey Whippleman. You see that?
Yeah, I saw that.
What a guy. What a guy. Cares about the people that helped him out along the way, gives back to the wrestling business. These are the guys I appreciate. Steve Austin, The Rock, Bret Hart, Chris Jericho. These are legends of the wrestling business because they have given back as much as they have received from professional wrestling. And that's not the case with Brock Lesnar. That's not the case with Goldberg. It's just not. They have taken way more than they have given back. Way more. Especially Brock. Brock is made out like a bandit in the pro wrestling business. He got the Undertaker streak, millions of dollars, beats the shit out of people, takes very little bumps, put, Drew and Seth over? Roman, I guess? Put a few guys over, but mostly beat the shit out of them before putting them over. Didn't really take a beat. Didn't take a quarter of the beating that he dished out to any number of those guys that I talk about. You know, like, Brock has not given that much of himself to professional wrestling when you compare him to the legends of the business. Is he a Hall of Famer? For sure. Is he a legend? For sure. Is he a great attraction? Without a doubt. But is he a guy at the end of the day that's going to have the love and respect of all pro wrestlers and pro wrestling fans? I don't know. I don't know about that. Not like Chris Jericho. Not like Bret Hart. Not like Rey Mysterio, not like Ric Flair. Ric Flair, say what you want about the guy, sticking around, whatever, lives and dies by professional wrestling. The Undertaker did not want to go away. Lives and dies for professional wrestling. Sting can't get the hint, man. I'm going to shit on Sting for, because it's crazy that he's so old and still wants to wrestle. But goddamn, I respect the hell out of it because he cares. He wants to give back. He has given back to professional wrestling. He's taken a lot. I mean, I think Impact probably took a lot. I don't know how much he really gave, but he gave, a bit, I guess. 50-50, I'd say. 50-50 booking there for Sting.
To be fair, they gave it to him. It's not like he was begging for it.
Nah. I guess. He wasn't begging for it, but I mean. But I respect Sting, because he is on Dynamite every week at 61 and doesn't need to be. But Brock and Goldberg, come on, man. They're part-time guys at best. And Hogan, I'm not going to talk about Hogan. I don't want to talk about Hogan. Hogan's given everything for this business. Damn right, brother. You're goddamn right, because he's a real legend. He's given his hips, his knees, his back, his whole body to the wrestling business. He got rich off of it, but, so did his ex-wife. And she doesn't have the scars.
Should have.
Aw, well. You lost to Jacques here, so that was enough, bro. That was enough.
No, it wasn't enough. He should have put over Brett, but he didn't.
He should have put Brett over. I agree. Anything else happen on SmackDown that you like? Carmella and Bayley beating Sasha and Bianca Belair. Sasha getting hit with Carmella's finisher. Took the fall after getting distracted by the sommelier flipping around, and then he took a punch. The sommelier's got flips, baby.
Yeah, I hate the whole thing about him coming in the ring and pulling Carmella out, and then the referee does absolutely nothing. It's ridiculous. I pretty much just want to turn the TV off because I'm like, this is dumb.
Yeah, I don't get the sommelier gimmick, and I like that he has no name, and I didn't expect him to do all those flips, but still, it's like, what exactly is going on here? Yeah, it's a way for Carmella to hold her own against Sasha Banks. Street Profits did an in-ring New Year's Day smoke-tacular promo. Angelo had a drum set. Montez was doing predictions. They joked about Sammy. They joked about Dolph. And never have I been happier to see Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler. They show up and beat the guys up pretty bad. Who thinks the Street Profits are a good promo? What's going on there? That. I know you never said it, but somebody in WWE thinks that they're really good at talking because they're given tons of promo time, and every time I hear them talk, I'm like, it's a little cringy. It's not good. The jokes don't land. It's just awkward. Montez is weird. He's just strange. Angelo is more relaxed, and he seems like the cooler guy of the two. Montez just seems like a weird guy. I don't know. I don't get it. I don't get his humor. I don't get Montez. I'm not a Montez fan. I mean, he's good in the ring. He's good in the ring, man. I'll give him that. He's a hell of an athlete. He can fucking jump like a motherfucker. That splash he does is crazy. It's amazing, that top rope splash. It's not he doesn't do a bunch of flips. It's nothing but the height that he gets on that thing. I've never seen anybody fly through the air with that much height on a top rope splash. It's a thing of beauty. Other than that, though.
Right. Yeah. Well, that's the whole thing about the Street Profits.
Yeah, I don't see much with them.
But they gave them a bunch of wins over pretty much all their tag teams, so they're a credible team. So they're in the spot they're in. And at least, unlike, I think, anyone else, they've actually made a tag team legitimate in WWE finally. So I have no problem with that. It's just now what do you do with these guys? You pretty much peak them,
Yeah,
and they need to somewhat evolve, and they aren't really evolving, unfortunately.
they're not. They're exactly the same. They've been exactly the same this entire run. And the problem is, because they've had such a long run, it should be a big deal when they lose. But if they lose to Rude and Ziggler, like, is it a big deal? You floated the idea a couple weeks ago of them finally losing to the Usos when Jimmy Uso gets back. I think that's your best case scenario, because at least then it'll mean something. I mean, it'll just be another way to elevate Roman even further, but it would mean something to lose to the Usos. Because losing to Rude and Ziggler, it's like, yeah, all that to just lose to Rude and Ziggler, It's kind of a really long story, and then you get to the end, and you're like, oh, the bad guys from the second chapter came back, and they beat them in the end? But they seem to beat them so easily in the second chapter. Why would they beat them in the end? This doesn't really make sense. It's a shitty book. Let's burn it.
Well, again, this is the problem of getting title shot after title shot. Eventually, they're like, well, we'll give it to them anyways, finally, because we don't have anything else going on. So this is a scary title defense. I mean, how many times do you beat a team before they finally beat you?
I don't know. We'll see. Kyle Salisbury says, I never liked Sting. Not sure why. Me neither. I get he helps add viewers to the new guys, but damn, I hate seeing him back. Yeah, I get that. I'm not a big fan. Kyle Salisbury is a member of the channel. We appreciate it. And Mako8033 wants will give $100 to Johnny to give a live Manscaped demonstration. Jesus. And only $50 for me. That's weird. So Mako8033 obviously wants to see your dick more than he wants to see mine. Which, I gotta say, I'm a little offended. You don't know what I got working, man. I got some serious gimmicks going on. Come on, brother. Well, that's crazy. That's not happening, Mako8033, but you can keep asking. I guess. Strange. Manscaped, we should tell you about our friends over at Manscaped, though. Go to manscaped.com, use that promo code ringside20, and use the promo code ringside20. What did I say? Manscaped.com, promo code ringside20. You get 20% off plus free shipping.
Yeah.
That comment from Mako just kind of threw me for a loop. Like, I'm still thinking about it. My God. Manscaped.com, promo code ringside20. They got the Lawnmower 3.0, which I think Mako wanted you to demonstrate. The Lawnmower 3.0, it'll shave all the bits. You want to make sure you're clean, you're smooth, everything's good. It's got the no-nick technology. You will not be nicked. You can go right down to the skin. Right down. With the Lawnmower 3.0, it is the #1 clipper in the business. It's got a little light at the end so you can see all the little areas. It's, of course, wireless. You could charge it on a little USB gimmick. It's fantastic. It's nice, easy, fits in the hand, really convenient. And Manscaped has so many great products. They've got the ball deodorant. They've got the crop revitalizer. They've got so many great products over at Manscaped. Your balls will thank you. The people that go near your balls will thank you. Are you a pro wrestler? Are you putting somebody in a power bomb? Are you going to give somebody a pedigree? Where do you think their head is? Right near your balls. What do you want them to smell? Something good or something bad? Probably good, right? You want to be a gentleman if you're a professional wrestler. If you're a pro wrestler out there, you want to be Manscaped, you want to hook yourself up, go to manscaped.com, use that promo code ringside20. You get 20% off your order. You get free shipping. Johnny North, you ever been set up for a power bomb and it's like, what's that smell? What's going on? It's because they're not manscaping. They're not getting their shit together. Right?
Well, I'm not usually thinking that. I'm like, okay, I have to take a power bomb. This is going to be fun. Usually think that. I mean, I guess to be fair, I don't think the BO's ever been that strong if it was actually there, so thank goodness.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice if it's like you're getting set up for a power bomb and all of a sudden you're like, oh, it's a nice smell going on there. And it's like pleasant just before you get dropped on your back, Manscaped. Agree with me, John. We're doing a commercial. Shit.
I'll agree. If I wrestled Vader, that definitely would have been needed, without question.
Yeah. Kyle Salisbury says if Vader had some of that ball powder, maybe HBK would have worked him. That's funny.
Oh no, he did work him. The problem was that
He
Vader
did.
put his armpit right in front of Sean's face, and that was the best thing he ever did.
Well, not just that. Apparently, there was a match. I heard JR talk about it. JR did a great podcast on Shawn Michaels from like 96 to 98. It was like 2 years of Shawn Michaels. And it was great, John. You would love it because it's just JR shitting on Shawn and about how much of a prick he was to deal with. And you would absolutely love it because it's just a real. And you could tell JR is fully Team Brett. Like, hearing the thing is like, oh, yeah, JR, like, was not having it with Shawn. Shawn was a real dick. And JR seemed to be very much on Brett's side for all the bullshit. So it was really good. And there was a point where Shawn apparently is like, I'm not wrestling Vader. He smells bad. He doesn't wash his gear. And apparently Vader would come home from the road, throw his gear, like just leave the gear in the bag, not open the bag, take the bag back, and just go back on the road with his stinky-ass gear. This is a 400-pound man not washing his gear after a loop, comes back home, doesn't wash the gear, goes back on another loop. You could bet he was stinking. And what's going on, Leon White? Why are you stinking? Wash your gear, dude. I mean, John, that's a big no-no, right? You wash your gear after every match, right?
You pretty much need to. Like, there's no question about it. But the fact that Vader did it to Shawn, I'm very happy actually. Like, Shawn deserves every horrible thing that ever happened to him in his life. So, and then some. He actually deserves much worse, actually.
And then some. Things have gone too well for Shawn Michaels. I mean, if you look at how everything went for him, he did get quite lucky in many respects. The demons never caught up to him.
Did JR talk about it? I think he talked about it recently on one of his podcasts how, like, Shawn just, like, sat out for WCW, like, because, he was hurt, but they didn't want him to talk about WCW. But then magically, once WCW's gone, his back's okay now. That's wonder magic.
That was crazy. So Razor and Diesel go to WCW. WCW starts getting hot. Shawn's like, oh, my back. I can't wrestle anymore. Vince, I guess you got to release me. I think I should probably retire. And Vince is like, yeah, right, pal. I'm going to pay you $750,000 a year to sit home and do fucking nothing but avoid signing to WCW. And Shawn's like, oh, okay, Vince, my back. And then WCW's pretty much gone. Shawn's like, oh, feel good again. I'm start wrestling, I guess. Vince, you want to pay me to wrestle? More than $750,000, though. I was shocked that he was getting $750,000 in the late 90s to not wrestle, to not sign to WCW. That's crazy. Fucking Shawn, man, that little bastard. Fucking losing his smile, breaking his back. I mean, it's the second time he faked an injury. He faked a knee injury, too. He didn't want to put Brett over. Oh, I lost my smile. Fucking Shawn Michaels. This is the only show, by the way, that's going to shit on Shawn Michaels. Like, totally outright shit on Shawn Michaels. And I love Shawn Michaels, but what's the matter with that guy? You know, hearing about Shawn Michaels, makes me sick. Makes me sick. Like, I heard JR talking about him mid-90s. Shawn did Playgirl, right? Playgirl. And I remembered, I had a memory. I was like, I must have been 9 or 10. I shouldn't have been aware of Playgirl, but I was, because Shawn Michaels in the squeaky clean WWF at the time, he decides, like, it's a kid's show. Hulk Hogan, it's not Attitude Era yet. It's a kid's show. Shawn Michaels is like, oh, I'm going to go do Playgirl. And now all these little kids know what Playgirl is? Disgusting. Exposing young minds to such filth. This man posing nude for a magazine. And this is pre-Attitude Era. Like, Attitude Era, whatever, things happen. But, like, Shawn Michaels was, he was pushing the envelope. He was taking it too far. It was a bad example for the kids. And that's why Bret Hart was holding the line Still the hero. Still the legend. Best there is, best there was, best there ever will be. And you know it. Shawn Michaels, you little bastard. Bret would whoop your ass. Still today, Shawn. Fucking Shawn. Pissed me off. And then he fucking screwed Bret in my own city. Motherfucker. I love Shawn. I'm a fan now. I love Shawn. He's one of the greatest wrestlers of all time. But it's just like hearing about like backstage stuff about 96, 98 Shawn. It just kind of brings back old memories of like how much I used to hate Shawn Michaels. In 1998, I hated Shawn Michaels. Hated. The day after the screw job when he shows up in Ottawa with Triple H, I hated those guys. Hated them. And it took a while to be like, all right. When Bret hugged Shawn in the ring, I was like, all right, I guess it's over. But even then, it was like, is it over though, Bret? Because I don't believe that you really want to hug him. It's just kind of, you're getting paid to do it. And it's time, but Bret still doesn't like Shawn. You know it. How could he?
Well, there's a positive story that I saw today, and like it put a smile to my face. It was like the last interview I think Rocky Johnson did. I think he did it with Hannibal, and like he talked about there was an altercation with Shawn and The Rock, where I don't know if you remember. I think it was the first SmackDown where Shawn did the super kick. I think he was the referee against The Rock, and he hit the super kick, and then afterwards Rock came backstage and he's like, Shawn, you hit me too hard there. You got to calm down. And Shawn's like, well, if you can't take it, you shouldn't be in the wrestling business. And then The Rock apparently was like, oh, okay. And then just like slugged him, brought him down, and like beat him down on the ground. This is like the first SmackDown. The Rock's dad talked about this. Like, I was like, yes, thank goodness.
Really?
I'm glad someone beat the crap out of Shawn. He deserved it.
I'd like to hear more of that story. Rock beat up Shawn Michaels for real? I believe it. I know Rock doesn't like Shawn Michaels. They don't like each other, and Rock still doesn't care for the man. Gotta respect the Dwayne. What a man. That's a guy. Bret loved him. Bret took care of him. Bret helped him along the way when he didn't need to.
Well, no, I mean, that was more of just like, because the Samoans respected Bret, so, like, it was kind of just paying respect back.
Yeah. But didn't Bret work in Hawaii, too, for, like, Rock's grandmother? Something?
Well, that's it. It's just paying respect. They paid him respect. They paid respect back by being nice to The Rock. Like, wrestling's supposed to be about respecting each other, not about stabbing each other in the back. The Clique didn't realize that, of course. The Clique was all about themselves.
Yeah.
But we're seeing that still, unfortunately, in wrestling.
I think that element is not as prevalent as it was back then with the Clique, right? I mean, who's really...
Who's controlling WWE right now, or who's part of controlling WWE? Come on.
I don't know. Who?
Well, like it starts from the bottom, like NXT. Like, who's there right now?
Yeah, Triple H and Shawn.
Yeah, exactly.
So they're not on top of the company. I'm talking about the wrestlers themselves. Like, it doesn't seem to be that much of a backstabby business as much as it used to be. It used to be like you really had to sleep with one eye open. Now there seems to be more camaraderie and more trust among the general population. That's what it seems like anyways. You don't hear people burying each other as much as they used to. Right? Like, for a time there, it was like everybody in wrestling was just shooting on everybody else, and everybody had a story, and there was burials. But now it's just like funny stories and good brother times.
Well, things have changed, right? Because it's a publicly traded company, so now they have to be a bit more clean about things. But I think they're still sneaky behind the scenes, though.
Yeah, I mean, there's still Cena stories and so on, the Alex Riley stuff, but and I'm sure there'll be some stories about Roman that'll come out. But like Roman, as a top guy, he may not be my favorite, but as far as his peers, you hear nothing but good things about the guy. They seem to universally like him, and it doesn't seem to be like Roman is backstabbing to stay on top. He's on top because Vince wants it that way, and he's just accepting the position. And the other guys in the company seem quite happy with it. Like, a lot of the guys in the company, seem happy with Roman Reigns, seem to like Roman Reigns as a person, as a wrestler. They enjoy working with him, you know? He may not be fun to watch, but like it's a totally different experience when you're his opponent in a match, right? Different deal.
Well, also Roman came from a wrestling family, so like he understands like tradition and respect, I think, in wrestling. So it's a little bit different.
Oh, that too. But you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sure there have been guys that you've seen wrestle and you've been like, eh. And then you wrestle them and you get, a little bit more. Has that ever happened to you where like you get a deeper appreciation for a wrestler after you've been in the ring with them? I feel like people like Roman Reigns. People like wrestling Roman Reigns. And as a fan, I don't fully get it, but listening to the wrestlers, I believe them. They're not all lying,
I could see that. I mean, it has, I think, happened. I can't think of anything on top of my head right now where
Yeah,
it's
I don't
like
know. I don't want you to
gain more
name
respect for
names. Yeah. I don't want you to be like, oh, I thought he sucked, but wrestling him, he's actually not bad. Like, I don't want you to bury anybody in that way, but I'm sure it happens, right? And people seem to
It's
like
possible.
Roman. Like, his peers
been a while
seem to
since I
like
wrestled.
him. Huh?
It's been a while since I wrestled, but I'll take your word for it.
All right, take my word for your wrestling career. Drew McIntyre is a WWE champion. Thank the fans again on Raw for supporting him throughout this crazy year.
Slammy award winning.
Ugh. What a terrible acceptance speech, too. He's just like so bland. The guy has nothing to say. Does he have a personality? Like, other than like, gee, I'm happy to be champion. Thanks, guys. Thanks, fans, for supporting me throughout this crazy year. What fans? You've been playing to empty arenas your entire run, man. Nobody's supporting you. Nobody gives a shit about you. People are tuning out in droves with you on top of Raw. No one's watching the show. Thank you, fans, for supporting me. What? That was weird. But hey. Drew McIntyre is convinced. I've seen him interviewed a few times, and he's like, oh, when I beat Brock Lesnar, if the fans would have been there, would have been a crazy moment. They would have went nuts. They would have loved it. Like, he's got this opinion of, like, man, if only there were people in the arenas, they would be going crazy for me right now because I'm amazing. I'm like, what? You look amazing. Give me that. He looks like $1 million. But then when he opens his mouth, you're like, shit. This is going to take a while. How long is this going to go on for? Oh, here comes Sheamus. What's he going to say? Fucking hell. Keith Lee. Oh, boy. Oh, boy. And on and on and on. Not too good.
The match was fine.
Well, the match was good. The promo to start the show, though. Don't start a show with Drew McIntyre talking. That's my advice to you. Do not start the show with Drew McIntyre. Doing anything, really. It's just not a good way to start a program. Keith Lee versus Sheamus was a good match. Keith Lee gets the win over Sheamus. And now it'll be Keith Lee versus Drew McIntyre for the WWE title on Raw. Anybody think Keith Lee wins?
Oh, I don't think so.
No. But, again, Kenny Omega is defending his AEW title on Dynamite. I don't think anybody thinks Rey Fenix is going to win. So, But the difference is the Kenny and Rey Fenix match will be kick-ass, and you know it going in. The Drew and Keith Lee match will probably not be that great. So, both matches, you know the result. Two title matches on two separate shows this week. But with Kenny and Phoenix, you're like, well, at least the match will be good. I know the result, but at least the match, But with Drew and Keith Lee, it's like, well, the match could be okay, maybe. I don't know. Drew's going to win in the end, so who cares?
Wait and see. I mean, I'm not going to... Keith Lee's pretty good, and, I think he could have a very good match with Drew McIntyre. They've known each other for quite a while, so wouldn't be surprised they've wrestled each other quite a few times on the indie scene, so I think they could pull off a pretty good match. I think it's too early to say that.
I don't think it'll be as good as Keith Lee and Sheamus. I think Sheamus is better than Drew McIntyre in every way.
You might not be too wrong on that one, to be honest, but I mean, this is not the way it's going right now.
No,
Sheamus,
but
is on the bottom, and
yeah,
McIntyre's on top.
I know, but if you're stacking them up like promos, I'd give the edge to Sheamus.
Yeah, sure.
Matches, in-ring style, skills, I'd give the edge to Sheamus big time. Major way.
Right, yeah.
Look. I mean, they both have great looks. They both look like professional wrestlers. They're both huge and jacked.
Right, yeah.
Maybe a tie. Maybe you give the edge to Drew because he's more like Sheamus has got like a kind of weird look, you know? He's like really pale. He's got the red hair.
Out,
he does stand out, but like Drew is more like traditional movie star type look, you know? Action hero. Sheamus is like bad guy. Drew is like the good guy in a movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, sure. Even though, Sheamus has been in a movie. He was in Turtles.
Yeah. I think Sheamus has a more unique look. And I think he looks cooler. I think you could debate who has a better look, Drew or Sheamus, and make strong arguments for Sheamus. I just think Sheamus is better than Drew in every single way. But, that's not the way the cookie crumbles right now in WWE. Sheamus might win the Royal Rumble. Maybe. But hey, now Drew has to worry about Miz again. Because Grand Metalik beat Miz on Raw, which, was an upset because Grand Metalik is treated like a jobber. But again, if you're going to compare like the wrestlers, a guy as skilled as Grand Metalik beating a guy as not skilled as Miz should never be a surprise. Should never be an upset. You know what I mean? Metalik is better than the Miz like by a mile. As far as the skills in the ring, Metalik is one of the best. I'd put him top 10 in the WWE right now, skill-wise. As far as in the ring, guys I like to watch, Metalik is top 10. And Miz is not.
I understand the Miz thing. I don't know if Grand Metalik is, but I mean he's decently up there.
He's pretty awesome.
He's not 10. He's definitely 15, probably at least. But you're going to see this now because Miz is Money in the Bank. He's going to lose these matches where it's like, well, you should win this match, but usually when you have the Money in the Bank contract, you lose these matches because like eventually you're getting the big win, right?
But he didn't have the Money in the Bank contract at the time. He was given it later because he was sad, and then Adam Pearce shows up and he's like, yeah, I remember that thing we were talking about last week where it's like John Morrison cashed in for you at TLC. Yeah, it turns out he's not allowed to do that, so the cash in was not valid, so here's the briefcase back, Miz. You're still Money in the Bank holder. And it's like, whoa, okay. They really just they don't know what they're doing. And I guess they decided in the past week, like, oh, no, we're going to put the title on Miz somehow. So they must have come up with a plan for Miz, right? That's why he got the Money in the Bank match? Like, why would they give it back to him unless they had some sort of idea for him to have it back and maybe win the title? I think win the title, right? Because I mean, can you cash in twice and lose twice on the same briefcase? That's pretty weak. I figure he's going to cash in at some point.
Well, I feel that they've made Drew too strong, where it's like he needs to get cheated out of the title somehow. So he's going to have to go through hell like he did before. And this time the Miz is finally going to get the win. I don't see Miz being a long reigning WWE champion, but this cash in will finally work.
When?
Hopefully the sooner the better. Like I don't want it to be at WrestleMania, that's for sure.
It might be though, right?
Well, I mean, if it is actually at WrestleMania, whatever, it's the build-up. I don't want the Miz to be in like the top match. Like that's not a top match to me. I mean, if he's going to cash in WrestleMania, go ahead. I don't care really. I just don't want that to be the top match.
What is your top match?
I wouldn't mind Drew versus Sheamus. I mean, we've already started, right? So I mean, if we're gonna go all the way to WrestleMania with it, I got
Yeah.
no problem with that.
It's
Sheamus is
not
pretty good. I mean,
it's not great.
AJ's the best wrestler on Raw, but I mean, he's already done Drew, right? So there's really nobody else. I mean, obviously you can always put the belt on Randy. Randy's the best thing going right now, but he's going a different
Whoa.
direction.
Whoa. Pump the brakes. He's what? He's the worst thing going. Are you kidding me? Randy's the best thing going. Charlotte Flair and Asuka are the best thing going today, brother. I don't know what you're talking about. The best thing going today are the Queens of Tomorrow, Charlotte and Asuka. And the second best thing going today are the sexy muscle friends, Mandy Rose and Dana Brooke. That is the greatest tag team name ever. The sexy muscle friends. They really are. They're sexy. They're muscular.
Awful.
What was?
That was so bad. That Dana
Asuka?
Brooke and that was bad too. But Dana Brooke and Mandy Rose, like, oof, that was rough. Like it was just really bad writing. It just came off bad, horrible. Like that went into I think a tag match to see who would wrestle them. I think.
Yeah.
Charlotte and Asuka. That was awful.
Yeah.
And then
Charlotte.
I think this week Charlotte's top came off.
Charlotte's what came off?
Well, I don't know if this happened to you. It happened to me. Like Raw went like black for a couple of seconds. Like I think
Really?
like Charlotte, I think went for a kick out. Like I think something came off. It looked like, I'm guessing.
Oh, I didn't notice. I didn't see that. I don't know. Charlotte beat Nia Jax by disqualification when Shayna showed up and attacked. Asuka made the save, ran them both off. That's what's going on there. But Randy. Let's talk about Randy. So Alexa Bliss does a whole promo with Randy earlier in the night, challenging Randy to meet her in the ring. And that's what the main event segment was. So Raw overall was not bad. You know, we had Keith Lee Sheamus. That was pretty good. Metalik beating Miz was decent. Shayna and Dana Brooke wasn't terrible. AJ Styles beat Elias, which was strange because they're both heels. I didn't really understand why that match happened, but AJ won, so at least we had that. It's just Rumble, anything goes, every man for himself deal, build up.
Well, it's just, we're gonna see different kind of like matchups, right? You're gonna see heel against heel, face versus face. It's gonna be like that. So I think this is gonna play a story possibly again in the Rumble match.
All right. Mustafa Ali beat Ricochet. Like, that match was pretty good. You know?
Mm-hmm.
There were some good matches. Charlotte and Nia was okay. Hurt Business beating Jeff Hardy, Riddle, and New Day. I thought that match was pretty good. I like that. Kind of long, but not bad. You know, not a bad match. Not a terrible episode of Raw until we get to the end. Alexa Bliss comes to the ring wearing a headset mic. So obviously she's not going to wrestle. She's doing a promo. She challenged Randy to go in the ring. Usually when you challenge somebody to meet you in the ring, it's for a match, which I was like, cool concept. How are they going to deal with this? How are they going to resolve this at the end of the show? I was like, this is a cool concept. It's a good idea. But then as soon as Alexa walks to the ring wearing a headset mic, not dressed for battle, she's wearing a little dress, I'm like, well, what's going to go on here? It's going to be another promo? This is not going to be good. At least if they would have set it up like a match, It's like, well, what the hell's going to go on here? But instead, they, I don't know, lit Alexa Bliss on fire? They killed Alexa Bliss too? I don't know. So Randy shows up. Randy shows up. He wants to know where Bray Wyatt is. Alexa brings a big gift in the ring, unwraps it because it's Christmas. It's a gas can with matches. She gives it to Randy, and then she challenges Randy to do to her what Randy did to The Fiend, which is burn him alive to a crisp, and now The Fiend is dead? Or, anyways, Alexa lies down. She makes a path of gas. She stands in it. She's begging Randy to light the match. She gets all mad. She calls Randy a little bitch. Little bitch. Where's my papers? Somebody get me papers. That was the best. Where's my papers? Who has papers for me? Little bitch? Was that a Brodie Lee tribute when she called him a little bitch?
I don't know if it was. Maybe it was. I'm not sure.
Johnny, show off the shirt you're wearing. Tell me why. Show me why you think Randy's so good. Show it off. We can't see it. We just see the top. Show off the shirt.
I have to go like this.
Oh yeah, show us your physique. Look at those muscles. Look at him wearing his Randy Orton shirt. What a
that you gave me, thank you.
Yeah. Wearing a Randy Orton shirt. What a mark. I'm wearing a shirt for a cool team, John. I don't know if you know about these guys. They have a cool backup guy. Okay. Yeah, it's a cool tag team. The Lucha Libre Inc. Most Caliente tag team. They're a very cool team. And, they have this backup guy. He wears a mask. Big guy. No shirt. Mask. Pants. Badass. I think you might know him pretty well, but I don't want to reveal anything.
Sounds like a cool guy.
Oh, he's a cool guy. He's way cooler than you because he wears a mask. And John, you love masks, right? You're pro mask, very pro mask. If you follow John on Instagram or Twitter, you know he's very pro mask, like the proest of pro maskers.
Mask up all the time, boys. I'm gonna catch you. Call you out.
He's going to catch you, brother. You don't want Johnny catching you. So Alexa calls Randy a little bitch, and then she pours gasoline all over her, like just drenches herself in the gasoline. And then Randy tells Alexa, he's like, oh, you think I'm not going to do it? I want to do it, but I know it's what you want, so I'm not going to do it. And then the Fiend lights hit, the Fiend sound effects, and then the lights go out. And then Randy's in the dark holding a lit match. And you're like, uh-oh, Randy lit a match. Shouldn't the ring be on fire? Because there was so much gasoline poured everywhere. And then the announcer like, Randy, don't do it. And then the Fiend lights go out again. We fade to black. Show's over.
Well, we saw Randy in the ring.
Yeah, Randy's in the ring with a... We saw Red? I didn't see Red. I didn't see. I just saw fade to black.
No, we saw Randy in the ring with a
match.
With the match, right? And it was going down, and you saw the announcer, you say no, and then black, but you were led to believe that he actually threw it down.
Yeah.
But we didn't actually see it.
Okay, so. Randy has now killed 2 people in the span of 3 weeks on TV. God damn.
Again, if it's in the ring, it's okay. If it's in the ring.
I guess.
Keep in the ring, it's okay.
I don't know.
So in the end, it's probably going to be a Firefly Funhouse like they had at WrestleMania. So this is going to get worse before it gets better, actually, unfortunately. I think the best part about this is actually past us. The Inferno stuff was great. I like that. But if we go to that stupid Firefly Funhouse stuff, it's going to get weird and dumb. Sadly.
It was cool. The Inferno match was not great. It was a cool moment when Bray was on fire and then he ran into the ring on fire and Randy hit him with the RKO. That was cool.
Yep.
That's the only cool part. Everything else has sucked. It's been ridiculous.
Well, and now this
promo, the promos are so bad. They're so hokey, man. Come on. So Randy's the legend killer. He's killed 2 people, and now it's the Raw Legends night coming up. I fear for the Big Show. Randy is going to light his ass on fire. Watch out, Boogeyman. Let me give you some names that have been announced, all right? I don't know if they've been announced, but I saw them in the video package, and I watched the video package on slow motion so I could see all the faces that they flashed by. You might be surprised by some of these names. So, of course, Hulk Hogan, Big Show, Ric Flair, Tori Wilson. They announced them, which I really think is strange. Like Hulk Hogan, Ric Flair, Big Show, Tori Wilson. It's a big drop off. Like legend, Tori Wilson. I mean, she's cool and all, but like, she's not Ric Flair.
Wasn't Tori in Playboy like twice though?
I think so. Didn't she do that one where she was like kind of? Didn't she do one with Sable?
Yeah,
was that
that's
the
what
one?
I thought so. Yeah.
Oh, that was the best one. That was the best one, brother. Wasn't that like they were like a little bit touching each other and they were nude touching each other in Playboy? That was spicy. That was like, whoa. I remember seeing that. I don't know how old I was, but I don't think I was old enough to see it. And I remember seeing it thinking, whoa. I haven't seen this on SmackDown. God, come close, but right? They did that, right?
So I think I think she earned the legend status for that.
Yeah, she's a legend for that. The Playboy shoot with Sable, Tori is a legend for that, for sure. Sergeant Slaughter, IRS, which I think would be, like, they have an opportunity to do something really interesting with him. Have IRS, Mike Rotunda, they won't, right? But imagine he comes out, he's in the ring, and he's like, Randy Orton, you killed my son. Because he's Bray's dad, right? Randy, you killed my son, I want revenge. And then Randy lights his ass on fire. Fucking burn IRS to a crisp. Have Ted DiBiase come down, make the save, you know? Tremendous. Money Inc. reunion. That's what we all want to see, right? Where's $1 Million Man? They bring out fucking IRS. They can't bring me the real guy that I want to see, Teddy DiBiase.
Well, isn't Teddy in a scandal or something?
I don't know. That's not his son, no? Ted might be involved too. Anyways, he probably needs IRS's help, or Irwin can help him out. I've heard Carlito is being brought back for this show, which I'm surprised by. And I wonder, like, if he has a good showing, maybe they sign him? Because he's still... I mean, we saw him at a show... I did ring announcing at a show, and you were wrestling on that show, right? With Lito?
I think it was like 5 years ago now.
Was it that long ago?
Oh, yeah. I think it was at least 5.
Yeah. But he was in great shape, man. He looked
fantastic shape.
Fucking great, man. He looked amazing. I was like, dude, why the fuck aren't you on TV every week? You know? Like, you hadn't seen him in so long. And talented guy, man. Talented guy, Carlito. Caribbean cool. So hopefully, I don't know. He's supposed to be there. Melina is going to be there for some reason. Tatanka, who I've also worked on a wrestling show with you and Tatanka, right? We've done shows with some legends, baby. See, we've been with some legends. We've been in the wrestling business, okay? I've done ring announcing at these shows, done backstage interviewing at these shows with Tatanka, with Carlito, who on Raw Legends nights, and Johnny North was wrestling on those shows. See, we're in the wrestling business, brother. I mean, I'm loosely kind of on the fringes of the wrestling business, but you're like in the wrestling business. You've like wrestled people. I've kind of like been around them, you know, which is
that's
almost
still pretty cool.
It's close enough.
Yeah.
I mean, JR's in the wrestling business, right? He's not wrestling anybody, so.
I mean, you also I think hung out with Lanny Poffo, if I'm not mistaken, too, right?
Yeah, I've hung out with Lanny Poffo. I've hung out with Jeff Jarrett and Greg Valentine. Jeff Jarrett's going to be on Legends Night. All right, I've been around. Talked to AJ Styles. Met AJ Styles. Hung out with AJ before he was the phenomenal one before he had long hair. Okay. Fantastic. What a guy. Anyways, Tatanka was really cool. I remember when Tatanka walked into the locker room, it was great. He walked in, he's like, "Hi, I'm Chris." And I'm like, "No, you're Tatanka, baby. I know you. You don't need to tell me you're Chris. You're fucking Tatanka, baby. I've been watching you my whole life. I love you." Fucking Tatanka. That guy's a badass. So he's going to be on Raw, which is cool. Boogeyman, for some reason, advertised for Raw. Booker T, Mark Henry, Melina, Michael Hayes, and Alicia Fox. So really,
Seem puzzled by that.
it's strange. Like, why is Mickie James a legend? Wasn't she still on the roster? It's a pretty loose definition of legend.
I don't know what her status is. I mean, maybe they've decided just to not have her wrestle anymore. Which is sad, because I think she's still pretty good, but...
Yeah, I don't know. It's weird, right?
Yeah, it's weird.
Like, I feel like she was on the Raw roster not that long ago. What was that thing that she did? She was feuding... She had a thing with Zelina, didn't she? Was that the last thing she did?
That was one of her last things that she did, but she had this match with Asuka, and there was a weird thing with the finish where, like, she was trying to get out of the hole, but the ref thought she was, like, knocked out or something, but she wasn't, clearly. And the ref, like, rang for the bell saying that she can't continue, even though she was, like, you know, still moving around. It was very weird. And then, yeah, she just jobbed out to Zelina, and that was it.
Yeah.
But apparently she broke her nose. She broke her nose somewhere. I'm not sure when, but she broke her nose, and we haven't seen her since.
Speaking of injuries in the women's division, you see that picture of Lana?
Well, I don't think that's legit, but okay.
You don't think it's real?
Well, they did the whole angle, like, on Raw. Remember that they broke her leg, broke her arm? Like,
I don't know. She's got, like, I saw a picture of her. She had her arm in a sling. She had her leg in a cast. I don't know. Maybe it's a work. Maybe you're right, John. Alicia Fox, legendary Alicia Fox, of course, will be there. But again, this is just classic WWE. They booked as many people as they could. You know, they got as many Florida people as they could get to show up to this thing. And
I got Mark Henry. He's from Texas.
Yeah, okay, Mark Henry, whatever. So they flew a couple people in, whatever. But, like, why did they get Mark Henry? Because somebody thought, oh, let's get Mark Henry. Like, they were coming up with a list of names, and they're like, how about Mark Henry? We wanted a couple guys that could still be physical, you know? Like, do you think they have any plans for Hogan?
Yes.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Like, Hogan, Flair, like they announced those ones. And then the rest are just, like, there for filler. But Hogan, Flair, Tori, like, they have segments for sure, I think.
You think they do anything significant? You think it really matters? How about this?
Oh, they'll do a nice little promo, I'm sure.
How about Hulk Hogan officially enters the 2021 Royal Rumble this Monday night on Raw? Let's go, brother.
I actually don't want to see that, to be honest.
I do.
Like,
I do so much.
Why? Like, you just complain about Sting, and now you want Hogan to wrestle? Like, what are you doing?
I like Hulk Hogan. I'm a fan.
Like, Hogan's more beat up, though. Like,
he's 67 as well. I don't know. Little Rumble ski shows up at like number 30, knocks a couple people out of the ring. Big Terry does it again. No, come on, man. What's your problem?
No,
you don't like
never.
Big Terry? And then we do Hogan Goldberg for the belt at Mania, and Hogan gets the win back, and everything's right in the world. That's how you fucking finish Mania, baby. You want to put the belt on some old guys. Fucking take the belt off Drew, give it to Goldberg. Do Goldberg Hogan at Mania. That's what you want to see, John. I know that's what you want to see. You love Bill Goldberg.
Honestly, I kind of want to see Brock win the Rumble at this point.
So we do Brock Drew. I want to see Daniel Bryan win the Rumble. I think Daniel Bryan versus Roman makes sense. And then have Daniel Bryan win, although probably not.
No, think about it. Brock is the best because it's like, oh, you think Brock Drew, but no, wait a minute. What about Brock and Roman? It works both ways. That's the great thing about Brock.
He could tease either way, but Brock Drew would definitely happen. Like Brock Roman, it's too confusing. There's no real explanation. And also, you bring Brock back to be a babyface to feud with heel Roman and heel Heyman. Who does Heyman side with? Like, it's just weird. How does Brock speak for himself as a babyface? Like, come on. You know that's not happening. It doesn't make sense. The Drew thing makes way more sense. Drew won the Rumble last year so he could face Brock and beat him at Mania. Brock wins the Rumble this year so he could face Drew and beat him at Mania. I feel like that makes more sense. I could see Brock winning the Rumble.
Apparently his new look, I haven't seen it, but apparently it looks a little bit different. So
Brock? Oh, I hope he's got the beard back. Bearded Brock is like the most badass looking Brock. When Brock was in the UFC and he had a beard, he looked so fucking cool.
Did he not have a beard somewhat in the Rumble? I feel like he did.
Did he? I'm talking about. I'm going to show you my favorite.
No, you're talking
version.
about like Viking, like Brock beard. That's what you're talking about.
Viking Brock. Hold on. Let me show you the coolest version of Brock right here. Look at that motherfucker. Oh, my God. Look at that cool beard and his cool hair. That's a scary dude right there, brother. That's my favorite Brock. Beard Brock.
He's always scary. That's the scariest, but...
Yeah, that's the scariest. That's the scariest man on the planet right there. Bearded Brock. Scariest man ever. Fucking intimidating. What a badass. Like, I'm sorry. You want this man staring back in your face? You want to step toe-to-toe with this guy? Look at this guy. That's a beast right there. That's the beast incarnate. I'm telling you, Mountain Brock, Viking Raiders Brock. I think that's what he looks like currently, yeah.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, he looks great. Is that his current look? What's this from? I'll tell you in a second here. I think so. So Brock and Drew at Mania. That makes sense. So Raw, Monday, Legends Night. Nia Jax and Shayna Baszler have officially entered the Women's 2021 Royal Rumble. Bobby Lashley officially entered the Men's Rumble. All right.
Okay, good for them. Like, they're not going to win, but that's nice for them.
Yeah. Any chance Big E wins? I love Big E. Big E Roman would be big. Yeah.
But he just won the Intercontinental title. I actually feel that actually brings his chances down considerably now, unfortunately. So
yeah. Big E with a nice backstage promo paying tribute to Brodie Lee. I don't know if you noticed all the references. He said Little Nolan.
I noticed the armband.
He had the armband that said Brodie. He said Nolan. He said Amanda. Amanda's his wife. Nolan is Brodie's son. Amanda, Brodie's wife. He made a reference to Rochester, New York, which is where Brodie was from. And he also made a reference to the Toronto Maple Leafs, which was Brodie's favorite hockey team. I actually heard, yeah. I know you're a Canadiens fan, John, but, you know. And I heard one of Brodie's buddies who was talking about it, saying how sad he was that Brodie didn't get to see, but Doug Gilmour tweeted out like a message of condolences about Brodie Lee. And had Brodie seen that, like had Brodie seen that while he was alive, he would have marked out big time because he was a huge Maple Leafs fan. And Doug Gilmour is like the, he's one of the heroes of that team. So
also finished his career in Montreal, but yeah,
did
Doug was good. He did, yeah.
God bless.
Great season.
Good for him. Well, that's it, John. I saw a weird commercial yesterday, a Coca-Cola commercial with Guy Carbonneau. Have you seen this?
No.
It's fucking bizarre. It's only on in French, so I think that's probably why you haven't seen it. I was watching the Bye Bye. You ever watch that? No. I don't have RDS on my. I don't have that channel. Nothing on RDS.
That's shocking. Wow.
Why? What am I gonna watch? French sports? What for?
Oh, UFC. You can watch that.
UFC I have on my other channels. What do I need RDS for?
George is doing the...
I don't need to hear little George analysis on the prelims. Like, I appreciate it or whatever, but, like, I have a certain amount of cable channels and I don't need RDS. I'm not a sports fan, John. I don't know if you know this, but, like, I don't care for sports. I like pro wrestling and mixed martial arts. Any other sport I really don't care about. I don't watch sports. I'm not interested.
Right.
It's too long.
UFC,
it's too boring.
That
UFC, yeah. I like baseball, too. I like the Yankees. Anyway, so this Guy Carbonneau, I was watching the Bye Bye. You never watched that show on like the French CBC? It's like the year-end show that they do every year. You never seen Bye Bye? You're not a real Quebecer if you don't watch Bye Bye. You know what I'm talking about, though. You've heard of the show.
I rarely watch SRC.
Okay, but you know the show I'm talking about? Like their year-end.
There is a show called it.
Yeah, on New Year's Eve. It's like a very famous show in Quebec. Anyways, I was watching it last night. Because, like, yeah, you know, what else am I going to do? And they usually have a lot of, like, racist skits, so I wanted to see, like, what the racist skit was going to be this year. I didn't see anything that racist, although maybe I missed something. I don't know. It was pretty good. I actually enjoyed the show. Anyways, they kept showing this Coca-Cola commercial during the broadcast. You know, every commercial break, they show the same commercial. So there's this Coca-Cola commercial, right? And it's like a family, and everything's going wrong. It's like Christmas or whatever, and everything's going wrong. The turkey's burnt. They're like, where's this guy? And he's stuck in the snow. And after everything goes wrong, like the turkey's burnt, they're like, oh, 2020. And then, the car's busted up, and it's like, oh, 2020, because the year sucks, so they blame everything on 2020, right? So then everything's going wrong. And then there's a doorbell. And then at the door is former Montreal Canadiens coach and player Guy Carbonneau wearing a Canadiens jersey. He's got 2 cases of Coca-Cola. He takes a sip of one of the bottles, and everybody in the house is like, everything's good now. And Carbonneau's like, don't worry, everything's going to be all right. And it's like, what the hell is this commercial? It's very strange. Very strange. Like, everything's going wrong, but then for some reason, Guy Carbonneau shows up at the door with some Coke, and it's cool. And why is he showing up at the door? And why is he wearing a Canadiens jersey? Why is he wearing his jersey? I mean, I understand it's so you recognize like who he is. It's like, oh, that guy used to play for the Canadiens if you don't recognize his face. But he's a pretty famous Montreal Canadiens player. So just a little hockey story to end the show. I just saw that commercial last night, and I was like, what the hell is this commercial? It's really weird. Very strange.
Well, I believe, if I'm not mistaken, I think Carbonneau's also a commentator. I'm not sure if it's on like TVR or something like that, but that could also be a reason why. It's just connections like that.
It was weird.
They always have Coke.
Yeah, I know. It was just a weird commercial because it's like, oh, things are going wrong, and there's a hockey player at the door drinking Coke. It's fine now. Coca-Cola. And I'm like, what? It was just weird. It was a weird ad. I was like, I feel like they spent more money on getting Guy Carbonneau in the commercial than they did on, writing the commercial because it was just a weird ad. And that's it, John. That's how I'm ending the show. First show of 2021. We're ending it on that note, okay? Watch Wrestle Kingdom next week. It's going to be so fun. A lot of pro wrestling next week. New Japan Pro Wrestling's Wrestle Kingdom. We've got Raw Legends Night on Monday. AEW Dynamite coming up on Wednesday is going to be tremendous. Kenny Omega versus Rey Fenix for the AEW World Championship. The AEW Women's title on the line. Hikaru Shida defending against Abaddon. Cody Rhodes going one-on-one with Matt Sydal. Snoop Dogg will be on the show for some reason.
Commentary.
On commentary?
He has a show with Cody.
Okay. And other things. Do you know of any other matches happening on Wednesday, John? You can help me out here?
Well,
Wardlow versus Jake Hager. John Moxley will return. John Moxley will return to AEW. It's a pretty good card they have. Jericho's going to be on commentary again.
Wow, Jericho with Snoop Dogg. That'll be fun. Wow.
Is Snoop on commentary? Is Snoop on commentary or is just a guest of the show? I don't know if he's on commentary. The whole show, though, with Jericho? That's going to be a mess. And Snoop Dogg on commentary for this, I don't know if that's a good idea. He might bury the product. It might
just be one match, but still.
Yeah, I hope it's just one match. I don't think he could do the whole show. I don't think that would be good. I don't think that's a good idea. I think that would make commentary a mess. And I don't want to put my good friend Jim Ross through that bullshit. Okay? Leave JR alone. He's a good man. JR, Jim Ross, good old JR, follows me on Twitter. You can follow me on Twitter as well at Dave Simon MMA, on Instagram at Dave Simon MMA. Follow Johnny North on Twitter at North Genesis, on Instagram at Genesis Johnny North, and you can follow us online at ringsidereport.net. Johnny and I will be back next week, as we are every Friday night right after SmackDown at 10 p.m. right here on the Ringside Report Network. And Freddie, AJ, and I will be back at our normal time Thursday night, 8 p.m. for more Ringside Report MMA Live. We are in the countdown to Connor, the 23rd of January, baby. It's the 2nd. We're 3 weeks away from McGregor. It's officially the 2nd of January. We're 3 weeks away from Connor time. And we're 4 weeks away from the Royal Rumble. So January is going to be jam-packed for us here at the Ringside Report Network. We're very excited about all the action coming your way and coming our way in pro wrestling and mixed martial arts. By God, it's going to be fun. We'll be back here 8 p.m. Thursday night for Ringside Report MMA Live, and then again on Friday for more, and who knows, things in between. Please continue to support the channel. Continue to join the channel, become a member. We appreciate Kyle Salisbury for the membership. We appreciate Kyle for joining. Antoinette, of course, always supporting the channel. Patrick C. Hamilton, my man Jason Pete out in Mexico. We appreciate the members. We appreciate you all for watching and listening and supporting the Ringside Report Network over 2020. And continuing into 2021. 2020 was a weird year for us in many different ways, right? The pandemic hit. We're no longer on radio stations, right? Remember we used to be a radio show? But I feel like...
I remember that.
Yeah, but you know what? Things seem to have hit us, but it didn't seem to make a dent. Like the Ringside Report ship is stronger, more robust, and doing better than ever. This show is stronger and better than ever. Like we are, things going on behind the scenes, all the things that are happening. We are doing better now than we've ever been. And that is all because of you and your support and the team that we have working on the channel, the production staff. We love you. We appreciate you. I definitely want to thank the viewers, the listeners, everybody who's seen the show, watched the show, told your friends about the show. We appreciate it very much. And we're getting stronger. We're getting stronger in 2021. We've got big things coming for you. And we are not stopping. 2020 was a weird year, and other shows would have been killed off by some of the things that hit us in 2020. But we're actually stronger because of it. What doesn't kill us makes us stronger. And we are stronger. We really are, Johnny. A lot of shows would have been taken out by some of the things that tried to get at us this year. But we didn't miss a beat. We didn't miss a show. We've been here the whole time. Through the pandemic, didn't miss a show. Johnny used to be sitting right next to me for these shows. Now he's at home doing it remotely. We didn't miss a beat. That's because of our great production team. And that's because of your support and your continued watching of the show and supporting of the show. So we appreciate you supporting our sponsors, becoming members, hitting us up on Super Chat. Every little bit helps us and keeps us going. So we appreciate you big time. It's been a big year for us. It's going to be even bigger next year, 2021. Happy New Year, everybody. Wrestling Uncensored. For Johnny, I'm Dave. Thank you. We'll see you again soon.
Thank you and good night.
Please join in and give your support to Ringside Report Network. We've been providing expert coverage and commentary on both pro wrestling and MMA for over 15 years. Ringside Report started on the radio, added podcasts, and moved to video in 2019. Our hosts are not just fans, but have in-depth knowledge of the subjects. Become a member of our YouTube channel now and become a recurring supporter of our work as we strive to continue to entertain you in these strange times. Pro wrestler Johnny Genesis North joins lifelong wrestling fan and aficionado Dave Simon to host our pro wrestling programming with in-depth coverage of the WWE, AEW, and New Japan Pro Wrestling. Our flagship show, Wrestling Uncensored, is live every Friday right after WWE SmackDown. Here, you get a review of the week that was. You may not agree with our host. In fact, they often don't agree with each other. But you have an opportunity to chime in with your viewpoint in the chat rooms while live or in the comments section of YouTube, Twitch, or Facebook on the replay. Dave and Johnny also headline our coverage of major pro wrestling pay-per-views and breaking news. Dave Simon is joined by experienced jiu-jitsu fighters Fred Garcia and the ever-unpredictable AJ DeLesio, each Thursday at 8 p.m. Eastern with Ringside Report MMA. They try and foresee what's next in the octagon and review, argue, and kibitz in a very friendly, irreverent manner. The three guys also team up to accompany you on all the major UFC pay-per-views with entertaining watch-alongs. Go to ringsidereport.net/support to find out more ways to support the channel.